Gonna start with the Examiner this morning. The devil we know. Jurgensen says, same old Ireland will settle for a draw. And he's right. He knows this all too well. Cork ace Horgan would love to overhaul the tip man he calls the best ever. It's Owen Kelly. Spoiler alert. Tommy Martin, Yorkshire man, the blunt superhero Ireland needs right now. It's a good column today from Tommy Martin talking about how in a time of crisis like we're currently experiencing with the FAI, that there is no one better than Big Mick to lead us through that. Game changer, women's soccer set for World Cup boom, but inequality lingers. Ed Cullen, teams need a momentum killer to have a fighting chance. And Ronnie's regret. Ronnie O'Sullivan's been talking about how he should never have become a snooker player. It led to panic attacks and how he doesn't actually have depression in real life. It's just that it's associated with his snooker game. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well.
The Irish Daily Star leads with long Chris goodbye. Ericsson contract talks have become real problem for Danes. I'm not quite sure if I buy this, that Christian Eriksen is actually saying the long goodbye just yet. You've also got an exclusive from Paul Lennon here saying Dortmund aiming to pip United to €10 million Irish kid. So this is the story around Nathan Collins of Stoke, who of course finished the season basically starting for Stoke City at centre half. He's only 17 years old, worth about 10 million quid. He could be on the way to Manchester United. According to Paul Lennon here, it depends on Darren Fletcher actually getting the role as technical director, but it seems Dortmund are interested as well, which would be quite the exciting move from his perspective. You pick Borussia Dortmund,
don't you?
You have to, especially in that position.
Now, the only thing is, you might not speak German. Like if he speaks German, or if he's got pidgin, whatever the junior cert's now called, German, then go for it. But you would need fairly intense lessons because the football language is all going to be in German, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To make it, having gone through that, that's a stunning achievement.
It is. You would imagine, though, that the situation within that Manchester United find themselves in at the moment is just a little bit higher pressure than the situation that Borussia Dortmund find themselves in.
Now, the other side of that is that they've got no good centre backs, really. Like, you're looking at Phil Jones.
That's kind of the point.
You're looking at Phil Jones, you're going, I could take that.
As a 17-year-old, is that what you want?
No, but of
course you got to have that ambition.
So I think you make the bench pretty quickly, is my point. They're not going to put you in on day one of the season and say, this is our guy for the rest of it. But you're getting game time, you're getting far more first-team access there than you would do at Manchester City if you went, for example. Yeah,
for sure. You do, though, look at, say, someone like Jadon Sancho and his move to Dortmund. Granted, his profile was a lot higher than Nathan Collins's and in a different position as well, which is, I guess, a little bit easier. A bit less communication, I guess. You can play a bit off the cuff a little bit more in Jadon Sancho's position. So it's not exactly comparing like with like, but I'm sure he would look at him and say to himself, well, actually, it's not a completely bizarre possibility that I could go there and do okay.
No.
The other story on the back of the Irish Daily Star is hacker attack rocks the FAI. So this was a serious attack by an external hacker which has floored the FAI's email system. So the organisation had been unable to receive or send emails since last Saturday following the breach of its antivirus protection. It happened last Friday night and affected personal computers and laptops belonging to staff. So not ideal timing either.
No. I mean, this is an interesting story, right? Who is hacking the FAI and why at this point?
Do we have our own little version of football leaks here in Ireland?
No, I mean, and what did they find? It's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, Owen obviously buried the lead, not paying attention to Tab of the Morning to you.
Ah, there you go.
Off the wall.
Featuring Andy Lee. That's
a proud moment for you and the family.
Well, it is. It's huge for us, really. I just don't like to push our kind of ego to the front that much. This is about sport this morning. This is not about Game of Thrones. I don't want to live in the shadow of the wall this morning.
So the Irish Daily Star sub-editors are clearly fans of Off the Wall, the Off the Ball Game of Thrones podcast, which is still riding relatively high, considering Game of Thrones is now a thing in our rear view
redundant now.
And then it's obviously it's about Trump and whatever. He hadn't a clue about. I really wanted to come to the UK because I've got a great relationship with you guys. You're in Ireland, you prick. Cluxton brings up the century. Stephen's not special, he just works harder. He is special though. Is the story of Cluxton's 100 caps. 100th appearance. Will turn up heat. Duffy insists Ericsson will be put under pressure this time. I mean, would have been an idea last time to put him under a bit of pressure, lads, considering he's Christian Eriksen and he was going to kill us if we gave him the opportunity to. And boy, did we give him plenty of opportunity. And Jurgensen expecting same dull Irish tactics. They're really provoking us into coming out and trying to attack them, but we're not stupid. We're going to sit back, batten down the hatches and scrape a nil all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're expecting to do here, trying to lull Glenwhelan out and get them to do keepy uppies or something in the middle of the game. That is not going to happen. They're banging the money. They're dead right. Yeah. And Jurgensen actually points to the fact that, you know, it's no problem for us because we tend to come out in front of our fans and play particularly well. We've actually done all right in Copenhagen or in our house, and it's turned out that we actually prefer playing there than we would in Dublin, for example, after that famously horrifying night.
Yeah, that was a grim enough night.
I think tap of the morning to you goes to the Sun. Shane, Dane, Payne was a drain, but Duffy's looking up now. That's in relation to we just keep going with the Trump ones. There's no off the wall ones here. It's just the West Wing with a H at the end. So we should actually just do a West Wing podcast and call it the West Wing and just kind of steal something back from the newspapers. Struggle is Real, says the headline here on Christian Eriksen, and no evidence Kildare can put it up to the Dubs, says Collie Moran. 1-1 now. Keane O'Neill will appear on the Dubs dressing room. Collie Moran's son Colin will appear on the Kildare dressing room.
He's right though. There's no evidence. There isn't.
Where's your evidence for that?
Yeah, where's your evidence for that? There is none. So the Irish Times this morning, Duffy says Ireland must take the game to Denmark, and that's Shane Duffy about to hoof the ball past Christian Eriksen, and it looks like, it wasn't the Diviva. was that interregnum between us going 1-0 up and us being crushed 5-1? That brief 15 minutes where...
I'm still riding high off that, to be quite honest.
Dream. British-Irish bid for World Cup 2030 facing China challenge. English FA and Ireland have been considering joint bid for at least a year. So, so Gianni Infantino was yesterday reappointed as FIFA's Grand Poobah, and he was talking at that point about a potential Chinese bid to host the World Cup in 2030. So you kind of think that he's taking the opportunity on his re-election to go, come on now, China, come on.
But he's basically just got up there and changed the rules.
Did he?
Because they're in the same confederation as Qatar.
Oh, so they can't have
you
two
have or whatever the exact parameters are. Maybe it's within two World Cups. So Infantino is like, we've made an exception for China. Just casually, I've been reappointed president. I'm going to take liberties to actually change the rule book here. And China, feel free to gazump Ireland and the UK. I would much prefer Beijing in July.
Would you?
I'm saying what Infantino is saying.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. Best match
I would prefer Beijing to Dublin.
Would you for a World Cup?
Yeah.
I know. We gotta have a World Cup, come on. I mean, it's like a complete flight of fancy and it's going to cost us probably more money than it's worth, but...
Well, the thing is, we probably would need to qualify for the Chinese World Cup, which is...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's an issue I didn't actually consider.
Best makes case for enlarging World Cup squad, so Rory Best says the squad size should be increased from 31 to 35 for the tournament in Japan. It's probably not going to happen. And Stan Wright was the player who... it turns out was the ex-Leinster player who knocked out an academy player. It was academy player Jack Dunn, and the Irish Times are printing that today, so that was the first time I'd seen that in print. Maybe it had already been, I'm not sure. Leinster closed investigation into Wright's punch. Leinster's investigation into a former player punching a current academy player has concluded to the satisfaction of all parties. The Irish Times understands that former Leinster prop Stan Wright, 40, knocked current Leinster Academy player Jack Dunn unconscious at a private team function in the Intercontinental Hotel during the early hours of Sunday, May the 26th. An internal investigation was carried out by Leinster Rugby, which has concluded to the satisfaction of all parties, and we will not be making any further comment on the incident other than to confirm that the player in question received medical attention and that he's made a full recovery. That's not good. I mean, it completely takes the shine off Leinster's 10-year celebrations when you have a grown man who's 40 punching a 20-year-old.
The Irish Independent this morning leads with, we all know how Ireland will play. That's the Danes' claim. Just to recap on some of these comments, I'm not sure did you actually get to this one. Look, there are two wins, 1-0 over Gibraltar and Georgia. That shows Ireland are the same team we faced over the past 2 years. Our main priority would be to watch Shane Duffy from set pieces. Once again, not wrong. A couple of other stories here in the back of the Indo. Pursoon says Taylor doesn't have the guts to fight me. In Belgium, there's been an offer of 300 grand, an optimistic one, admittedly by the Belgians, for Taylor to travel for that rematch. And Tribe hope to rush Canning back to fill leadership void. So serious concerns over a steep decline in performance levels have left Micheál Donoghue poised to make several changes for this Sunday's match with Kilkenny. It'll probably come too soon for Joe Canning, but Saturday week when they go to Parnell Park to face Dublin, which could be a crucial game in terms of their survival in the All-Ireland final, Donoghue might look to Joe Canning to come back quickly.
The Mirror, the most annoying team in football. Danish ace Delaney blasts Ireland's defensive style ahead of crunch Euro tie. So this is the same comments basically that he's been making for a while. Denmark ace Thomas Delaney claims the Republic of Ireland are the most annoying team in international football. The Dortmund midfielder is sick of the sight of the boys in green and insists the 5-1 World Cup playoff hammering counts for nothing tomorrow. well, it certainly put us on warning. And it will be some turnaround if we get something better than a draw. Hackers target FAI computer systems. This is the cyber hackers have tricked their way into the FAI servers. Tottenham demand 130 million as Ericsson dreams of Real. And then this horrific story, Zaha outrage. In nearly every game, I'm racially abused, and I'm not going to use the terms that he uses, but Wilfried Zaha has revealed the shocking extent of the racist abuse that he faces almost every time he walks on the pitch. Opening up on the scale of the problem, the Crystal Palace star says he's constantly called names from the stands. You can work them out for yourself. A series of high-profile incidents at matches involving the likes of Sterling, Aubameyang, and now it turns out Wilfried Zaha and Salah have been part of a worrying rise in race hate during the season. Zaha did an interview with a magazine called The Jackal. Imagine if I really got down about that. I don't know if we're animals to them or whatever. Why is this okay? Why are you saying these things right next to your 5-year-old kid? And then, when you leave, what, you're back to being a normal dad, working a normal job? People mask this stuff. I didn't realise that, because so much gets made of individual incidents that we're always given the impression they're just individual incidents. It's a few bad apples, but actually, this is a wildfire within English society at the moment, and it will be within Irish society if we're not very careful. And people like Wilfried Zaha coming out and saying this is happening on a regular basis have to be listened to, and this has to become one of the most important stories of the off-season. And stuff has to be done about it that doesn't just involve the clubs. The fans need to police themselves, and they need to be the ones who are saying to their fellow supporters of the same team that is not acceptable behaviour, because unless everybody stands up to this, nobody will. That's how these things work. So, I don't know, I just really hope that Wilfried Zaha's story gets listened to and gets amplified the way it needs to be.
The Racing Post this morning leads with Guineas heroine Hermosa rerouted to Ascot. So that's Hermosa who's now going to run the Coronation Stakes at Royal Ascot. And the back page of the Racing Post is cutting loose. Semi-final rivals unlikely to hold back in Portugal. It's the Netherlands against England at 7:45 this evening.
Yeah, the Guardian also leading with that. Gareth Gamble. Southgate set to rest Champions League 7 with Sterling ready for 50th cap. He was a very young man to be winning 50 caps, but obviously it's a clear sign of his importance to the England team. And then they've got stories about the England Women's World Cup team. Anyway, they're called the Lionesses. Is that the worst nickname in world sport? The Lionesses?
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Ronaldo steals the show again to steer Portugal into final. So that's Cristiano Ronaldo on all the back pages after his hat-trick last night, on several of the front pages as well. I've got one more for you. It's the Irish Daily Mail, and it's "Let's win ugly. Duffy's happy to dog it out against the Danes," and a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo having scored his hat-trick yesterday. He was also in the news because Bloomberg had yesterday reported that the case against him after involving alleged rape had been dropped, but actually the plaintiff's lawyer did issue a clarifying statement to say that the case in fact had not been dropped, that they'd put the case in two separate courts. One was a federal case and the other one was the court that they had removed that action from. It was a procedural thing, really, just to make sure that they needed to find who was going to have jurisdiction. That had been established, and so the case, as it stands, will continue. Yeah.
That was the thing that came out. Basically, state case not going ahead, but the federal case is. So there was a bit of confusion there yesterday, especially after that Bloomberg piece, but it seems that that's been cleared up a little bit. Just on when you say the Lioness's worst name in the world, I was trying to rack my brains as to one that is worse. I actually can't think of one, but I ended up obviously thinking of the one that's the best nickname for an international team, and it is the Tall Blacks, the New Zealand basketball team, which is kind of unstoppable. I really can't think of anything worse than the Lionesses.
There was a brief time when their New Zealand badminton team, do you know what they were called?
No.
The Black Cocks.
I see what you did there.
I didn't do it.
Well,
I just told the story. I didn't do it.
Prove it.
No, you can Google that on your phone, preferably, as opposed to one of the actual work computers on. Anyway, that was the other, and then but there are good ones. The Indomitable Lions. That's like a proper classic.
It's almost too good, really. You can't laugh at the Indomitable Lions.
No. Why should life just be a joke? Why can't it just be? I love these people. They're great. The Cameroon football team. Come on. I'm going to give you an opportunity to enter our competition today before we talk about some of the stories in the papers. We're running this competition in conjunction with Brian Thomas in advance of Father's Day. So we've been asking people all week, and we've been getting a slew of beautiful stories in from people about their favourite sporting memories with their dads, all sorts of different ones. It can be your first one, it can be your best one, it can be whatever you want, and you can hit us up on any of our social channels. So this is all in conjunction with the Brian Thomas sunglasses promotion, which is on now until the 9th of June, which is this Sunday in all Brian Thomas stores, and of course also on brianthomas.com. Right now you can receive 20% off the biggest selection of sunglasses at Brian Thomas and brianthomas.com. Father's Day at Brian Thomas, for everything he really wants. This is what great gifting really looks like. Give him the perfect pair of shades this Father's Day. And today we're giving you the chance to win a pair of €250 worth of sunglasses. To enter, share your first or best memory of going to a sports event with your dad, mum, aunt, uncle, guardian, whoever it is that you want, and we'll run you through some of those. We've already had some entries from from this morning. Issel Cody says, greatest sporting memory with dad. In fact, when he showed trust in my ability to send updates from the Munster final last year when he was stuck at the golf in Scotland and insisted I go solo to Cork on the hottest day of the year to mark a programme before telling me I did a good job, in inverted commas. And she's also helpfully screen grabbed the messages about the details. And it sounds like it was a bit of a classic. Final score is 3-18 to 2-4. You're going to be back in Tipperary before I get to Dublin. So that is dedication. It's dedication to the cause. Anything in the papers today caught your eye?
We'll get into the transfers in just a moment. The Danish stuff, as we've been speaking about, really is the one. I never asked you yesterday what your earliest memory is of that one, or how do you want to get into it?
I talked about the All-Ireland final in Thurles in 1984. See, the show continues in your absence, you know, when you're off swanning around the world.
So I'm going to watch it when I'm away.
We'd already done that one. So I was at the Centenary All-Ireland Hurling final. It was my first one, 1984.
It's a good one to guess. It's not bad. We'll come back to a couple of these. I mean, the Danish stuff, really, it's kind of leading the way in all the newspapers. And you do have to kind of ask yourself the question whether or not it is actual mind games or whether or not it's just them being like, we actually couldn't even care less about Ireland. We have such little respect for them that this actually isn't mind games. We're just speaking what we think because we're not even worried about making them angry.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that, isn't there? There's like a boredom factor has set in with them. Whereas so they beat us so spectacularly at home that they sent the football culture into shock. They ended the career effectively, I mean, that was already over, of Martin O'Neill. Like, they don't know that they've been this kind of central character in our history because they never think about us. It's kind of, they look upon us like we look upon Georgia. Exactly, yeah, we're like, the Georgians are kind of angry and upset about us, kind of going, well, you know, they're not really important, are they? And the Danes are a bit like, Ireland, come on, stop boring us. It's kind of like having something stuck at the bottom of your shoe, but you've got no hands and you can't get rid of the thing at the bottom of your shoe. That's the thing. You're just stuck with this for a while longer, but it doesn't actually affect your quality of life. Exactly. You will walk it off very, very shortly. That's how the Danes view us, which is something that you'd love to stick it to them. You'd love to say the most annoying team in football now. Who is the most annoying team in football? To someone like Thomas Delaney, who, of course, yesterday hated playing. Like, is that not a really big compliment? Saying that we are the most annoying team in football. Like the idea that... Wouldn't you like to be like the best passing team or the most free-flowing or the best... We're never going to be that. Team, wouldn't you? Well, we might be under Stephen Kenny. Why not, you know? I want Ireland to be the most something. Yeah. Like, as long as it's not the most crap or the most embarrassing. It is, though, at the moment. I would take most annoying any day of the week over a lot of other adjectives. Yeah, okay, fair enough.